Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sports Today. Just a bit of a quick update on the practice game that was taking place between India and Western Australia 11. India have won the match and they've beaten Western Australia by 13 runs, although many could argue that it possibly could have been a slightly more comfortable victory than it was in the end because India had pretty much dominated most of the proceedings, specifically the beginning parts of the match. They were pretty good early up front, but once again, if fans are concerned about India's death bowling, then there's not going to be too much solace to be found in the result of this particular match. Why is that the case? That's something I'm going to go into in just a bit. But first, let's take a quick look at how it is that the scorecards look from a very basic point of view. So India were batting first, and they scored 158 for 6 in their 20 overs. Most of that was largely down to a half century by Suryakumar Yadav. Although there were cameos as well from the likes of Deepak Hooda and Hardik Pandya. Now, this defending this sort of a total can be a little bit of a challenge, but India managed to actually restrict the Western Australia 11 to 145 for 8 in their 20 overs. Now, again, as I said, a lot of that actually came down to India making good early inroads because by the time the power players had gone about, both Bhuvneshwar Kumar and Arshdeep Singh had taken 2 wickets each. And so they were already 4 wickets down, the Western Australia 11. By the time, they were 29 for 4, in fact, after the end of the power play. So at that point, already the chase looked all but done. And then towards the mid innings mark, after 10 overs had been completed, the Western Australia 11 were 57 for 5 because UZ Chahal had chipped in with fifth wicket. So Karan Kumar, I know that Arshdeep took 3 wickets. I'm talking about what he did in the power plays. I know he took 3 wickets. What happened thereon is that the Western Australia 11 did manage to get some momentum, obviously. So what happens there when we talk about India's problems with the death bowling? We saw that plenty here as well because they had their foot on the gas pedal at that point with having taken 5 wickets with 10 overs gone. But what happened towards the end was that they were not able to get a wicket, and there was a good innings from Sam Fanning, and Sam Fanning actually ended up getting half century. But what happened was that at one point they could have actually had him out much earlier because Hardik Pandya took a very very good catch of Harshal Patel's bowling, and what happened was that unfortunately Harshal ended up it turned out that he had overstepped, so it was no ball, and the wicket didn't go, and then Fanning actually made the most of that, ended up getting his half century. But what happened there was that towards the end it actually looked very very close because India had to defend, like if you look at the scorecard and you look at the way the match was playing out, last 4 overs the Western Australia 11 needed 45 runs, which as we know in today's day and age is a very very doable target. The good thing was that Arshdeep did in fact get a breakthrough, and that actually stymied a lot of their momentum. Harshal also actually had a bit of an expensive final over because India were defending 30 odd runs in that final over, so it seemed like a foregone conclusion. Unfortunately, Harshal went for a few runs, and in the end India only managed to win by 13 runs. So obviously the key takeaways here when you talk about it is that familiar woes for India. Really, they make good they make good inroads in the early parts. Then at the death, obviously, it didn't really look too good because they did leak a few runs. Other more concerning things was that so you had Rohit Sharma who ended up getting out cheaply, but it's not the fact that he got out cheaply. There was a problem. What is a cause of concern, however, is that he was dismissed by Jason Behrendorff, who, as we all know, left arm pacer, can get it to move around a little bit. So Rohit, in fact, in that sense, it was definitely not an innings to remember for him in that regard. Also, someone who had a day to forget is of course Rishabh Pant. He was promoted to the top of the order to open alongside Rohit. He ended up having a pretty poor innings. So 17, he played out 17 balls and then only ended up scoring 9 runs through that point. So again, not exactly ideal for Pant as well. Surya Kumar Yadav, as we always say, he's always been that person who inspires the most confidence from all of India's batsmen in the middle order. He ended up having a good knock. He made 52 runs of 35 balls, got 3 fours, 3 sixes. So good knock from him. There were good cameos as well from Hardik Pandya and Deepak Hooda, who you'd remember, hasn't been playing too much cricket recently because he had also picked up a bit of a back injury. So in that sense, however, Ninesh Karthik was another one, gotten a decent finish towards the end. But again, 158 was not a target that inspired a lot of confidence. The good news for India, of course, is that the bowlers managed to get good inroads in that regard early on. But again, death overs bowling continues, and I see a lot of you in the comments are asking for scorecards. Let me give you a little secret. Where it is that we access our scorecards from is exactly the same places where you access your scorecards from. So if there was, if you guys actually can't find the scorecards, then rest assured that generally speaking we can't either. And these matches, it was supposed to be live stream. Unfortunately, there seemed to be some technical issues that did in fact, ensure that there was no live stream. Dipen Sharma says two words: Virat Kohli. Well, Kohli didn't actually play this game. Neither him nor Rahul were actually part of the 11, so it wasn't a full strength 11 per se, because there was no KL and no Virat in the 11. Anyway, the good news at least is that India ended up actually, managing to defend what was a low total. So the bowling, but in fact, the bowling was, another bit of an issue when it comes to just how they ended up finishing the game. So in that regard, unfortunately, there's some familiar issues that India will have to iron out. And remember, this was only a practice game, so it's not exactly a warm-up game, because the warm-up games, remember, you will actually be getting better coverage of, and they are actually ICC official warm-up games. So that in that sense, what happens here is that this match, before we make too many snap judgments in that regard, it's just better to remember that this is in fact just a practice game. It's only meant to get the players in a little bit, or keep the players in a little bit of match shape. So in that regard, not too much to be read into, but if you're looking at it from a surface level, there are a few pressing concerns that hopefully the Indian team can iron out before the T20 World Cup. And that's it for this particular update. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, drop us a comment, and of course subscribe to the channel and tap the bell icon if you haven't already. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, I hope to see you all through the day, but for now, goodbye.